Hey, this is John. Welcome back to Modern Old School Developer. In this episode, we're going to be working on the main form state. So you can see if we open up our VS Code that we do have a lot of the state in our global state for all of the form information. However, we're not actually using any of that right now. We did set up a single test reducer state, this set select the movie ID, but we're not using that anywhere right now. And as we saw in the last episode, Formik has a really easy manner to handle state information for forms. So why don't we simply use Formik to handle our form? It may seem like there's 4 different things here, but actually this is just one big form that is interrelated. So let's treat it like one big form with a Formik context. So let's see what we can do about that. For starters, I want to get rid of things in my state. So don't need the actors or categories or movie ID or movie name or ID or series number. Those things will all be handled by Formik. As far as the state, again, selected actors, categories, movie ID, movie name, studio ID, and series number. There we go. We can get rid of the set selected movie ID action. We can get rid of set selected movie ID. We can get rid of this interface. And I believe that is all good. So now we get rid of this case over here in the reducer. And there we go. So that has cleaned up all of our unused state from our global state. Now let's work on using Formik to manage our state instead. So because we have those different components, we do need to pass down that Formik object to all of our things. So we'll just pass it in as a prop. So let's change this to be Formik, and we'll change this to be Formik, and we will import Formik. And now we are going to make those initial values. All right, so once again, we're going to make a type for our form data. So we will make an interface main page form values type. So we need something for the movie selection. So let's call that movie ID. It's going to be a number, or it might be null if there is no movie selection. We are going to have the movie name, which will be a string, or it will be null. We are going to have a movie studio ID, which will be a number, or it will be null. We are going to have a movie series ID, which will be a number, or null. We will have a movie series number, which number or null. Actually, that's going to be a string. It will be a number in the DB, I think, but I think it's going to be a string on the form data, so because it's a text field. So we'll leave it like that. We'll check how it goes later on. Then there are the actor fields. There's 2 actor selections. So there is movie actor available ID, which will be a number or it will be null. And there will be a movie actor selected ID, which will be a number or it will be null. And that finally brings us to our categories, which is movie categories, which is going to be an array of numbers, or it will be null. Okay, there we go. There is the interface for our form data. So let's set up our initial form values. So const initial values, which is going to be a main page form values type. Okay, so movie ID is going to be null. Movie name is going to be null. Studio ID. You can see where we're going with this. Now, I'm not sure if Formik will handle the null values for this array, so this might need to be an empty array to begin with, but we'll see what happens as we go on. So these are all the values that Formik is going to keep track of for us. So let's pass that down, and then we're going to have an onSubmit value as well. So let's do const onSubmit equals async, and we're going to have values, which is a main page form values type, and then we have helpers, which is a Formik helpers of main page form values type. And right now we will just console log values on submit because that seems appropriate to me. All right, so let's start off by doing initial values is going to be initial values, and on submit is going to be on submit. Okay, so there we go. There is our Formik thing. And now we simply need to wrap this in our handler, which is going to look like that. And we'll put that down at the bottom. And we're going to have Formik, which returns everything in here. So let's save that. And it's complaining. Why is it complaining? It's because there are two things here, and we can't return two things. We need to make a fragment. Okay, that I think should work. All right, so I forgot my fat arrow there. Okay, there we go. Now it's formatting properly. Okay, there's not much wrong with that. Okay, so now for each of these four things, we need to pass down this Formik object as a prop so that we can have it. So this Formik object is a Formik props of main page form values type. So we'll have to see if we need to import this type or not. If we do, we'll put it in the types file. So let's see if that's going to be a thing. So let's go over to our movie list. All right, and in the movie list, we are going to make a new prop, which is Formik. And that is going to be a Formik props of main. Yeah, I think we're going to need to export that. Let's see. Let's put that in its own type then. So over under types, we'll have form.ts, maybe forms. Let me say form, I don't know. It's fine. And let's export this interface. So over on main page, let's import that. All right. And then that should be okay. And then this should be a main page form values type. Let's try this. There we go. I didn't have my Typescript right. Okay, that should be okay. And actually, we should export this into our form type as well. So instead of being props, this is going to be, what do I call those? Like a movie section? Yeah, movie section props. And we'll export this. And we're going to put this over into form. So we'll have that, and we're going to import Formik props. So that should be okay. And over here on movie list, we actually want movie section props. We don't need this anymore or this anymore, so that starts to look okay. So we now have our Formik properties on, did I call that sec show? I mistyped that. Okay, let's fix that. Movie section props. Okay. All right. Now we need to pass this Formik equals Formik. And there we go. Now we can pass down our Formik object to our other things. So let's go fix the remaining three sections. So movie data needs to have Formik movie section props. And what's the next one? Actor selector, Formik, which is going to be movie section props. And then category selector will be Formik movie section props. All right. that looks good. Those all look good. And now if I simply add Formik to all of these, yeah, everything compiles and is happy. So I think we're ready to actually use our Formik object to get our form filled out. So yeah, here is our main page form, all of our default values. So that all should be okay. So if we simply have these form data, we should be able to make this go. So where is my movie list? I want to open this first. So this is going to be the value. So can we set a value if it's null? Let's see what happens. So not 100% sure. So let's try some things out. The first thing I think is we want to make a name for this, and the name is going to be the movie ID, whatever I called that value. Let me get rid of this and this. It should be just movie ID. So if I have that, and then we can spread Formik dot, I need to be inside JavaScript. Formik dot get field meta or get field props. I think it's get field props. And not name, it should be movie ID. So let's see here. This is already in there in the field props. So let's do that. And let's see what happens over there. So if I reset this, what do I see? Value prop on select should not be null. Consider using an empty string to declare the component or undefined for uncontrolled opponents. So looks like they don't want it to be null. It should be some kind of value. So let's change that real quick and see what happens. So let's go back to our form, and it's either going to be a number. You know, also I think it's going to be a string. So let's change all these. I think that they're all going to be string values, if that works. So let's go back to our main page, and we're simply going to set these all to being no. Okay, and this will be an empty array. Okay, let's see if it likes that better. Clear the console, reset. Okay, so yeah. So I think it starts out with this being selected, but that might be okay for a default anyway. So we'll see how that works in practice. I haven't actually done this with Formik, so we'll see how that goes. So, all right, there we go. That is the select for movie list. That should be handling all of those movie props. So I'm curious if we hit the update button. Nope, that's not right yet because we didn't fix that form. So over on movie data, we've got this form, and it should be on submit equals Formik.handle submit. So let's try it again. Okay, there we go. So here is our submission. Here is all of our values. So yeah, we've got mostly, you know, blank information right now. So, okay, that's good. So if I select that, what happens? Movie ID is still null. There's probably no value on this list over here. In fact, that's probably why it got selected, actually. So let's go back and fix that real quick. This movie list, yeah, we need a value in here, and the value should be the index. So let's set that and see what it does. So if I reset this, if I hit update, what do we get over here? Movie ID is nothing. If I select that, movie ID is nothing. Okay, so there's a subtle difference between null and undefined. You can use undefined, you can't use null. So if I do it with undefined values in here and making them strings or undefined, you can see when we start by default, there is no selection there. When we hit the update, it does change the movie ID. So that looks pretty good to me. So moving on, let's handle the movie data, studio, series, and series number. And let's try to get that working as well. So over here on, not this, I can actually move this back to just being index, movie data. So right here, we've got a few options here. We could use that field again. I think that's what we're going to do. So why don't we change this to being a Formik field, and let's import that. And we will have the name being movie name. Okay. And then that should be correct for that. So we can see it still looks good. If we put some stuff in there. All right, a few subtle nuances. We can't have undefined for the name or it throws an error. Same thing for the series thing. We can have them for the studio and the series, and that's okay. And it just won't have a default value. But otherwise, we don't have an option to do some of those things. So that's fine, though. So our name is at least set. I don't think anything else is set right now, so we should need to go do that. But we do have movie name working. So let's go fix series number, studio, and series. So back on movie data, we can change this thing to a field. And the name of the field is going to be, what is this? Movie series number? Something like that? Yeah, movie series number. Okay. So, all right. So this thing is going to be much like that first select, not on the main page though, not on the admin page. Let's get rid of this, this, and this. Let's go into, where's my movie list? I want this guy. So we want basically this thing on our select statement. So this is going to be not movie ID, Formik.getFieldProp. This is going to be movie series ID. All right, that should be good. And then we'll copy this down to the studio, or up the studio, I guess. So right here, we'll have movie studio ID. All right. And I believe that should be good for those properties as well. So yeah, we've got values on those. So let's go see if those work. So if I hit update right now, you're going to get a bunch of undefineds, but AAA, CCC, that looks wrong. What did we typo over there on the field thing? Number, not number. We can't change any of those. Why would that be? All right, there's an odd duplication between this kind of null value here for none and the index. So if we remove that, I believe it will work. If we make this just value be the empty string, Disney, Dark Knight, Harry Potter, Star Wars, yeah. Just happened to conflict with the none value that I chose, so it wasn't doing the right thing. So AAA, Disney, Dark Knight, CCC. If we hit update and go to our console, there we go. We are getting the movie series ID, which is working okay. So let's go ahead and go down to our actors, our available and our selected. Let's go over here, open up our actor selector. So what do we have over here? We've got our selector list, which they select class again. Looks like it should be the exact same thing. Won't be any nuns in this one though. So this should be movie actor available ID. Is that right? Movie actor available ID. Yes. Okay. So that should be good for this class. And then we'll do the exact same thing for the other selector. Only it's going to be movie actor selected ID. And that should take care of that, I believe. So one more thing to handle is the, what is that? Our category selector. And these have the inputs. I think we just need to make them the same name. Let's check that out real quick. Yeah, the docs say all I have to do is change this to be a field, give the type of checkbox to be, or give it a name, and the name is going to be categories. Did I call that movie categories? Yeah, movie categories. And I think we want a value here, and the value is going to be index. And then if I import this field, that should be okay. So let's go see if all of those work now. I'm going to select the last movie. We're going to give it a dumb name. Oh, they're not functioning. They're not working. I think I've seen it before where it likes to have them be string values. I'm not really sure why that is. It must be because of the label. I mean, it's got to be the label, I'm thinking. Let's take that out. Okay. Well, what if we made the value be the category? Would it work then? Okay, I think it does work. So if I go look at these things, I see our categories seems a little weird, seems a little messed up, maybe from before. And our categories are fantasy and sci-fi. So yeah, that looks correct to me. So I think we have handled all of our form state in the same place. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So I hope this has been helpful in showing you how to use Formik a little bit more and get some more information about that. And some of the quirks when working with Formik. I'm not really sure why I can't have numbers on the values here, because I would like to have numbers for the values rather than the actual names. Okay, I looked this up in Formik, and it is a known bug that will be fixed in the next major release, but it would be a breaking change. They don't want to do that right now. I did find a workaround though. We can just cast the index to a string, and that way we have a string value, which is actually the number value, which will work for my purposes later on. So there is our fix for using number values in checkboxes with Formik. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.